Welcome in to Palmetto Sports Daily. We have a lot to talk about as far as postseason hoops, but let's start off with our group. I'm Carmine here in Greenville, joined by our cast of characters here. Kevin Bilodeau, maybe the foremost of those. He is over in Charleston. We have Teagan Brown in Myrtle Beach and Rick Henry in Columbia. And let's start off by talking about our newest conference champion, the Furman Paladins, for the second time in 4 years, winning the SoCon. And let's not belabor the point. Let's take a look at this celebration video here for Bob Ritchie and the Furman Paladins. Like I said, second time in 4 seasons. It's their 8th SoCon championship ever. There Bob is, hugging his kids, and he shortly after that found his wife. Very emotional after a huge win that they got thanks to their big man, 6'11" Cooper Bowser. Great last name, and it was a Mario Party for the team. He scored 21 points, and Furman used some hot shooting to beat ETSU 76-61, a 15-point win in the SoCon championship. ETSU was the top seed and Furman was the 6th seed, but the point was made throughout the broadcast as well, and on this team's run, they had a lot of injuries. I was talking with Palmetto sports reporter Ella Grogan, and she said when she went to one game this year, they only had one player on their entire bench. So the team got healthy. They won 12 out of 14 in the middle of the season there, and then they punched their ticket to the NCAA tournament. Most outstanding player you see on the left, Alex Wilkins, a freshman. He had 34 points in the semifinal to get them in the championship. That was the most scored by a Furman player in the conference tournament in almost 50 years. And then he added 12 in the championship to take down ETSU. And here is an emotional head coach, Bob Ritchie, speaking one-on-one with our Palmetto sports anchor, Caroline Soro.
And what kind of joy, you were talking about joy, what kind of joy does it bring to be back in the NCAA tournament for the second time in 4 seasons now?
Well, it's just, look, the good Lord just humbly lets me be the leader of this program. It's a childhood dream of mine to be a head coach of a Division I program. I wanted to do it since I was 13 years old. And, you know, it's just crazy. Like, I take walks before our team meeting on game days down here, and, you know, the gratitude. I mean, I wanted to live in gratitude all week because I've gotten to do some unbelievable things. And we've had some unbelievable moments as a program. And look, we're chasing moments. Tonight's a moment. But we used to come here and there's no purple here, and we'd stay a day maybe. And I was an assistant. But what we've been able to do because of a group of people, a board, an administration, an AD, a community, a university that's gotten behind all this. And we just want to keep building.
Well, I can see the emotions, Coach. That's a sign of somebody that cares a lot about this program. Are you going to put that thing down at some point, or are you going to go to bed with that thing tonight? I don't know. You've been hanging on to it.
I've been trying to pass it off, but I've been holding it. These are hard to get. So, you know, we got 2 of these now, and we got 2 of the smaller ones. These are a lot more fun.
All right, Coach. Well, thank you so much. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Awesome interview there from Caroline. You see Bob Ritchie getting choked up, maybe getting some of us choked up because we cover all these athletes and coaches nonstop and can see how much so many of them care to the point of tears, especially when you win. And Bob Ritchie's building a dynasty. I mean, you look at 2 of the last 4 SoCon championships, and his team made it to the SoCon championship game 4 out of 5 years, and one of those losing from a buzzer beater from Lamont Paris's team, and then the next year Lamont was over with the Gamecocks men's basketball team. So Rick, just a great celebration, and I think that this team, just like they did a couple seasons ago when they upset Virginia in the first round of the NCAA tournament, maybe they could be a little Cinderella story here because they have the size, they have the skill, they have scoring, and they have rebounding and toughness. So I wouldn't be surprised if you see Furman upset somebody again this year.
Carmine, I think the Furman Paladins have somewhat of an underrated history when it comes to the NCAA tournament. You mentioned what they did against Virginia. How many times have they made the tournament, and how many tournament wins do they have? Do you know right offhand?
I don't know offhand, but I know 8 conference championships, so they can be dangerous.
Yeah, and they do have. I remember them picking up an NCAA tournament win way back in the 70s, 1974, when they beat the Gamecocks. So how about that in the opening game? So I say don't sleep on the Furman Paladins, or else, hey, they can get you. So congratulations to Coach Ritchie and his team.
Yeah, definitely. And then for Clemson, let's get right into that. They're trying to start their postseason run in the ACC tournament. They don't know their first round opponent just yet at the time of recording, but it'll be either Virginia Tech or it will be Wake Forest. And unfortunately, that's two teams that were in the midst of the recent 4-game losing streak that Clemson men's basketball had just a couple weeks ago. So they really, on paper, should beat these two teams, but as we know, the games are not played on paper. There's Brad Brownell shouting out his 5 seniors on senior day, including Dylan Hunter there and R.J. Godfrey, 2 guys who were instrumental in this team's run to the Elite Eight of the NCAA tournament just a couple seasons ago. And here's the coach talking about preparing for an opponent whom you don't know who that's going to be just yet, asked by our Palmetto Sports intern, Toby Corriston.
It's a little more difficult because you're watching, I'm spending my time on 2 different teams as opposed to one, and so is members of the staff. We have, different guys assigned to each team, and, we're going to primarily practice some Wake Forest stuff today, and we'll primarily practice some Virginia Tech stuff tomorrow. There are a few things that we'll practice, for ourselves, just for us to get better in fundamentals and all those kinds of things. We'll do a lot of that here today. Probably not quite as hard tomorrow, but today's going to be a good, aggressive day of practice that we need.
So the Clemson men will tip off at 9:30 p.m. on Wednesday night. Tough draw for Clemson. And if they advance, it'll be 9:30 Thursday, 9:30 Friday, and the championship is 8:30 Saturday night. So tough to get those late tip-offs, but what can you do? And hopefully Clemson can try to win their first ACC tournament ever, which it would be if they're able to win 4 games in 4 days. Not the easiest task, especially starting off against a team that recently beat you. So we'll see what happens for the Clemson men and if they can turn things around from this rough entry to the regular season ending and the conference tournament starting.
Yeah, Carmine, what's up with these late starts? Because the Gamecocks, they tip off at 9:30 tomorrow in the SEC tournament against Oklahoma, and if they win, they'll play again 9:30 on Thursday. So Palmetto State basketball fans, they'll be keeping some late hours watching their teams. And the news that we have about the Gamecocks today, word started getting around that the university has decided to keep Lamont Paris on for a 5th year, and I talked to someone in the athletics department, and they said, well, no official release yet. That the word is that they are definitely going to keep Coach Paris, and some fans may find that surprising because he's in his 3rd losing season in his 4 years at Carolina. Right now, they are 13-18 overall. 4-14 in the SEC, which doubles the amount of wins they had last year. And to finish 500, they would have to win 5 straight games at the SEC tournament to finish 18-18. That put them in the NCAA tournament. Now, that would be the makings of a great movie. And they're going into the tournament with a little momentum thanks to a buzzer-beating, game-winning 3-pointer by Meechie Johnson Saturday against Ole Miss. And here's Coach Paris talking about the momentum that will give them as they get ready to play in Nashville.
You just reflect on what it must feel like for the guys, and especially for Meechie Johnson in that moment. So pretty cool, and a neat way to end the entire season, regular season, and go into tournament time. We talked about that as we went in there, that nothing says March like half-court buzzer beaters. And so what a way to get the whole thing started as we prepare and get ourselves ready to go to Nashville.
So, again, the Gamecocks open play in Nashville in the SEC tournament tomorrow night, 9:30 against Oklahoma. And we'll see if they can win a game or two and really build a little more momentum as they get ready for apparently what will be Lamont Paris's 5th season in Columbia. Kevin?
Well, Rick, I wanted to get your opinion before I give you mine. Do you think this is the right move to bring Lamont Paris back for a 5th season, or would you have pulled the trigger and made a move at this point?
Well, I know a lot of folks would have pulled the trigger, and I can understand that too. But knowing how the University of South Carolina Board of Trustees operates, especially when it comes to spending money, and with a $12 million buyout, I expected them to keep Lamont for a fifth year, and we'll see what happens if he can turn it around. But he's going to lose like 3 starters who will be out of eligibility. Does that mean they're going to give him more NIL money to go out and get some talent? Because there's obviously a significant talent gap between the Gamecocks and your upper tier programs in the SEC. So I can see it both ways, and I know probably the majority of the fan base, they'll be up in arms about this decision, because 2 straight losing seasons with a total of 6 SEC wins over 2 years, a lot of people are not happy.
Yeah, well, you said it right there, Rick. The big thing isn't just it's been 2 losing seasons. These have been 2 abysmal seasons by the Gamecocks, which is why I was kind of expecting them to pull the trigger. But the money thing you talk about does make a lot of sense. You're talking a $12 million buyout for Paris to get him out of this contract and send him away. Then you got to put money towards whoever the new coach is, whoever the new staff is. So you're talking, at least just for next year, an investment of $20+ million to make this coaching change. Whereas you take maybe $8 or $9 million and you put that towards the NIL and you start bringing in some better players, maybe that's the thing that's going to turn this around. We talked about it last week, though, and the thing that worries me the most is just the general level of apathy you're seeing from Gamecocks fans towards this team right now. And I think that's the bigger issue. You know, you can talk about winning games and losing games, and that's obviously incredibly important. But the way we saw those crowds the last couple of games for South Carolina's home dates, including Senior Day, when it looked like there was about 15 people in the stands, that's what would really worry me if I was Jeremiah Donati. So he's kind of putting himself on the line by making this move to bring Paris back after a year, and he's already got some other big decisions, including the baseball coach coming forward soon as well. So it's interesting to see what he's going to do in his first couple of years here with the Gamecocks. We're just getting going here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We'll be back with more right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. In our opening segment, we talk men's college basketball. Now we're going to talk about the ladies, the Gamecock women. They're still trying to recover from that stunning loss in Sunday's SEC championship game as they were knocked off by Texas. The 2 teams flip-flop in the ACC poll. The AP poll. The Gamecocks dropped to number 4. Texas moves up to number 3. So with South Carolina now, is preparing themselves for the NCAA tournament. They're on spring break now. Coach Don Staley says they'll get back together on Friday and then get ready to hopefully make another run to the Final Four. And you go back to 2022, the last time they lost the SEC Tournament Championship game. They won the national championship that year. It looks like they may be headed to Sacramento for the Sweet 16 if they're lucky enough to advance that far. And the last time they were assigned to California for the Sweet 16, 2017 in Stockton, they won the national championship that year. Here are the Gamecocks talking about just getting back on track.
1, don't like losing. 2, just what it takes to win an SEC tournament championship. It takes, you got to be in great physical shape. You got to be in, you strengthen your mentals to really, because once your physical leaves, your mentals have to take over. And that's when your habits, your habits are from being mentally tough.
I feel like this loss definitely made us stronger as a team. This is probably the worst we've played all season. Obviously, it's just a chance for us to, take a breather, relax, get healthy, recover, and then obviously focus on the championship that's ahead.
But sometimes you got to take the good with the good and the bad with the bad. And last time I checked, when we lost, we won a national championship. The last time we lost in the SEC. So it's a new group. It's their first time being in this moment or been in the SEC actually. So I think it was a great experience for them, but not only them, great experience for me.
You heard Tania Latson there talking about they probably played their worst game of the season. One thing that is a little concerning, 2 of their last 4 games, not good. They closed out the regular season and they had to struggle to beat Kentucky by just 4 points. And then Sunday against Texas, they were just really wiped out in the opening minutes. as Texas got off to a 14-0 lead, and during that stretch, the Gamecocks only put up 1 point. I mean, only one shot. And the rest of the way, Texas outscored them by only 3 points, but you can't be getting off to starts like that, especially in the NCAA tournament against some really good teams. Kevin?
Yeah, and I'm sure if you talk to Dawn Staley afterwards, she's going to say she's upset about losing the SEC championship and having that kind of performance against a good team like Texas. But I'd be shocked if afterwards she gets back to her office and there isn't a little smirk on her face that, now she's got something to motivate these girls going forward. They're not just going in on this big winning streak thinking they're, one of the best teams in the country, even though they are. But they've got some stuff to work on now, Carmine. They've got some motivation, and they know that they're beatable now going into this tournament, which maybe as they get ready for this postseason gives them a little bit of a sense of urgency.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it wasn't just a beating. I mean, it was abysmal, to quote what you said, Kevin, earlier about Lamont Paris's teams the past couple years. But, I mean, getting off to 14-0 starts in front of a packed almost 15,000 Gamecocks fans at the Well there in Greenville, where we both were, Rick, covering that game. The Gamecocks worry me, though, with their inability to score. I mean, they scored only 59 points, the fewest they have all season in that championship to Texas. And last year, that was a problem in the NCAA tournament, scoring in the 50s, even though they had Mylasia Full-Wiley and they had Chloe Kitts on the team at the time, as far as great scorers. So we'll be right back, though, not talking basketball, the beginning of football and Coastal Carolina right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We've spent the show talking about basketball. Of course, we're heading into March Madness, conference tournaments wrapping up. But right now also marks the start of spring ball. Coastal Carolina stepping out on the teal turf today to start the Ryan Beard era. It is the first year under the new head coach after the Tim Beck era ended at the end of last season. So lots and lots of new faces on this team. It's almost an entirely new roster, which, yes, has been a thing with Coastal the past 2 years and been a thing with most teams in college football, as plenty of people transfer out for NIL reasons or playing reasons or any of that. But this is a look at the team this morning. They were out there bright and early, about 8 o'clock. That's head coach Ryan Beard showing his team what they need to work on over there. And we had the chance to catch up with him just about the excitement of starting spring ball, as well as their quarterback room. You were just looking at some of those guys there. It's an entirely new quarterback room. They've got one freshman and then a handful of transfers. One of those transfers, Trey Gruera, from a Texas JUCO school. So here's the head coach talking about the excitement and about Trey.
But again, overall, the guys were excited to get out there. The staff, I haven't stopped smiling all day. It was good to finally get out there and coach on the turf. This is a special place to play, and I think the guys felt that today. At the quarterback position, you have to understand how to get guys in position to help you win football games. And what I mean by that is, how do you run the huddle? How do you communicate with your teammates? What type of intangibles do you have? Are you a leader? And I think he absolutely is. And he's got significant arm talent. I'm sure, as you saw when he was spinning it out there, he can really make some big-time throws. And we got him some good playmakers beside him to do a good job there.
Yeah, it's an exciting time for Coastal. It seems like fans are really excited about Ryan Beard and kind of what he's bringing to the table. We also had the chance to meet Nick Petrino, the offensive coordinator for the team. We met him for the first time this morning, chatted with him as well, just about his offense, about his philosophy. They run a lot of options is something he talked about. He can work with pretty much any type of quarterback, and he's excited for their quarterback room and kind of the diversity they have in terms of how each of them play. But he is really excited for Trey. He really likes what he's seen from his arm. So, guys, lots of excitement around Coastal. Just kind of curious, I know you've heard Ryan Beard talk a couple of times now as we start this new era. Kevin, kind of what are your thoughts on him and what he's bringing to the table so far?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what he does, especially in this first year. And it's hard because, like you mentioned, every roster is basically starting from scratch every year. So the interesting thing, though, with him is that it seems like he's brought a lot of the guys from his last job over. So there's maybe a little bit more familiarity there in that first season. So guys he's going to know, and maybe that can lead to good things for Coastal Carolina this upcoming season, Carmine.
Yeah, definitely could. Fresh start, good looking turf. Rick, it could be fun out there. And hey, speaking of moving places like this, Coach, we got some trades and some changes coming in the NFL, including to the Panthers right after this.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We wrap things up with the NFL as free agency kicking off on Monday, and a couple of South Carolina running backs with South Carolina ties, I should say, making big changes yesterday. That includes former Clemson running back Travis Etienne signing a new 4-year deal worth $52 million with the New Orleans Saints, leaving the Jacksonville Jaguars. And former Gamecock and Carolina Panther Rico Dowdle signing a 2-year deal worth just over $12 million with the Pittsburgh Steelers yesterday. So, guys, I wanted to ask you, which one do you think is a better fit with his new team? Is it Dowdle in Pittsburgh or Etienne in New Orleans? Start with you, Carmine.
Yeah, first of all, heartbroken to see the Tigers teammates finally split up after 8 years together, with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne Jr. coming from Clemson, playing their careers with the Jags. But I think the better fit is Rico Dowdle for the Steelers. He can pound it. They got rid of Kenneth Gainwell, and so he's just going to keep pounding, take that mentality from the Panthers. And then clustered backfield, I'm not sure how Alvin Kamara is going to work in with Travis Etienne in New Orleans. So that's kind of a cluster situation at running back there. Rick, what do you think?
Yeah, well, with Etienne going to New Orleans, what is Kamara's future there? And as far as Rico Dowdle, he's getting close to that point where that shelf life for a running back is getting short. I think he still has 1 or 2 good years left in him. Teagan?
Yeah, I've got to agree with you, but we've got to wrap up the show here. We'll keep you updated on even more NFL free agency in the Carolinas. But that's going to do it for us today. Thanks for joining.